Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's why I feel like all Australian food should be considered prison food. It's not even. It wasn't even that funny.
Is it the prison
colony?
colony?
The prison
That's
colony.
Great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, folks, this is the Beacon House Podcast, and now that we've covered what people in Australia eat, or where they are when they're eating, thanks for coming to the episode today. This is our second October episode. It's going to be huge. And before we get going, just so you know, I'm Spence.
I'm Casey.
I'm Hunter.
Guys, we have a very, very special guest today. We have got Dustin, who is the cast manager from Frightworks Haunted House. Dustin, introduce yourself to our audience.
Hey guys, I'm Dustin. You can't see me, but you can hear me.
Yay! So this is a visual podcast.
That is right. That is right.
Oh.
Dustin's going to talk to you about what it's like to operate a haunted house attraction. This is where professionals will scare the bejesus out of you, and you will love it.
And you can take tips on how to set up in the abandoned house in your neighborhood, too.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, maybe we will. Anyway, Dustin, tell us what's going on. But before we get into like the history of Frightworks and everything, tell us about what's new this year at Frightworks.
Okay, so as most people know, last year we decided to go with a 5 fright zone. We broke our entire haunt down into 5 sections. We realized last year that went over really well with the guests, so we decided that we would continue with that, but we were going to make some changes to those 5 zones. So we've got the Nightmare Zone, which they go through first, Hauntings, Dungeon, where we're going a little Black Plague London-like.
Love it.
Obviously the Asylum, which is one of our most popular areas, and then a new area we have this year, which is Slaughter, which is a cannibalistic Romanian Russian combination of a family. Hard to describe.
I'm so excited
Oh,
right
the
now.
dungeon
Man.
and the slaughterhouse.
Or the old English, like I know that they're getting at like Plague Doctor type stuff. That's one of my favorite. That's actually the only costume that I ever wear. Is I've got a Plague Doctor costume that I made, and it's my own. If I have an occasion to go like a party
Why
or
are
something.
we just finding out about this?
Dude, I
Spencer?
love it. I've got
That's
there's
awesome.
look, there's a picture of Plague Doctor over there on the wall. It's one of my favorite.
yeah.
Nostradamus was a famous Plague Doctor, and it's that almost gothic type of mask. People go, is that a bird mask or is that a whatever, like a ball mask? No, that's actually what they wore because they thought that would stop them from dying.
Wasn't it like packed with spices or something like that? I don't.
Well, you guys have a video. You guys have a whole
We
string of
do.
videos about where the guy's got a Plague Doctor mask and he's got
the therapy cap for the asylum.
quote unquote therapy cap, whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I was like, ooh, man. So, dude, that's super, super exciting. And so, man, give us a little, again, if I'm sure everybody out there has seen haunted houses, and you when it comes this time of year and you're like maybe getting a gang of people together to go, and like, I think it's super fun. I mean, there are lots of ways to go out and find scares, and, you know, I want to see what you guys think about it. And I'd like to talk to you guys that are actually in the business manufacturing this. Like, what is it that makes a good scare, and why are people so excited about getting scared? I know I am. We talk about haunted movies.
Every year growing up, my dad would take me and the neighborhood kids and find that year's, you know, top haunted attraction and make us go through it. And what was great is he'd always get there, buy us all tickets. And I was like, you going? He's like, nope. Take it on. Get on in there. And so it was just a bunch of like 10 and 11-year-olds with no parental guidance walking through this haunted attraction, getting the bejesus scared out of us. And then they wonder, you know, whenever a new horror movie comes out, they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to go see this horror movie. And they're like, with who? And I'm like, oh, by myself. At 11 o'clock at night. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I get a really good kick out of going to see horror movies by myself in the theater.
Man, well, speaking of that, before we go too much further, I want to say I just saw last night a new movie called Hellfest, and it looked campy, and I went with our friend Leslie. We went and checked it out, and man, like the first few minutes of it, I was like, oh, this is going to be cheesy, because it's really cheesy, and some of the acting is real paper thin, you know.
It looks so.
Here's the thing. It sets it up perfectly. It gives you all that. It's got all this classic stuff, and I'm not trying to do a movie review, but like, man, it started out like real campy and real cheesy, and it introduces you to a bunch of characters you almost want to see get like chopped up, you know. And then they go to this insane haunted house, and it's beautiful. From there, the movie is absolutely beautiful because it looks like all this stuff that we're going to talk about today, like there's a lot of like lasers and black lights and enclosed rooms with props, and to me, that's what's so exciting about going through a place like Frightworks, where people, it's like a scream park kind of a thing, where the people go in and there's tons of people and characters, and it's like, I mean, it's way exaggerated. Like, it looks like they're at it's like Bonnaroo for like Halloween or something, but man, it's got all these different dimensions and stuff, and it's truly creepy, and it has that vibe of like an enclosed suspense thing, kind of like what you guys do. It's not just like kids running through the woods and maybe there's a guy with a knife. Like, I mean, and again, to each his own, but that shit gets so old to me. And like, I really like the sort of like the intentional like look of like a haunted house, like anyway, I'm going on and on. But anyway, see Hellfest, and then after you get the bug, get your ass over to Frightworks. But why don't you tell us a little bit about like the origin of give us a little backstory on Frightworks.
Okay, so Frightworks, it actually began back in I think it was the 90s, 1999 actually. They opened as Terror on the Turnpike in Oak Ridge, and they started as a charity haunt. They ran for a couple years, then they closed, and they all took a hiatus for about 3 years, and then they reopened here in Knoxville in about 2008. And from my understanding, we've had 2 locations. We were originally located on the off Callahan Drive, and then in 2013, we made the move from Callahan to West Emory Road in Powell, and then that's where we have been since then. We in this location, I know when they purchased it, they actually purchased 2 separate warehouses, one at the very front of the building that Rob worked at in his very first job, but like fresh out of college in the office there, and the second was a big warehouse in the back. And they thought, okay, we've got to connect them. So they reached out to the business that was between the 2 of them, bought about 10 foot off of his shop, and then they put up firewall all the way back to connect these 2 things to make, I think it's like 16,000 square feet or something. Good Lord. I don't remember how much the actual footage is. I know it's on our 15-year Fear promotional video, exactly how much our square footage is. So
that explains why it feels so big. And like, I go to this every year, and it's exhilarating. It's so much fun. It's incredible. And it looks tiny up front, and you go through there, and like, I remember thinking like, damn, they must be like winding these walls like so tight. Like, I can't hear that guy in the, like, but you go all the way back, I guess. That's why.
You go almost all the way back to the back of this huge, I mean, I think there's probably at least almost maybe 10 warehouses. Wow. Close to about 10 warehouses, big businesses, huge. They've got the huge ceilings in there. And that's why once you get to the back of the haunt, everything kind of opens up and it feels much bigger because our ceiling is about twice as high as it is than it is in the front of the building.
Amazing.
That's great.
Amazing.
Now, we went to a haunted attraction last year, and they did a thing that I hated. That's just because I'm claustrophobic, where they took giant inflatable, I don't know what, like basically it was like bounce houses, but they smushed them together and you had to go right through the middle.
Claustrophobia tunnels.
Yeah.
That's awesome that there's a name for it. I love that.
It is.
Fitting.
I won't say the name, but when most people go through something like that in a haunted attraction, usually the actors are trying very hard not to laugh because when the guests come out, they refer to it as being reborn, and they have their choice words for it. So in the middle of the night trying to haunt people, when they come screaming out of that thing, they've been reborn. It's,
for most of the attraction that I went through, so you guys do that as well in your attractions.
Thing.
I will say we have had that in the past. I won't confirm nor deny that we are utilizing that set piece this year, but we have had that in the history.
Okay, because last year when we went through it, I thought it was really neat, and it definitely was the part that set me in the most panic. Not really because...
Was it really?
Yeah. Not really because of like the tunnel itself, but because the person in front of me was more terrified than I was and stopped moving. So I had to start pushing him, and then in turn he tried to turn around and go the other way. And then I grabbed him and was like, we're going to do this together because I'm freaking out right now. And he's like, me too. And I was like, great. We're not going to get stuck in the middle of this because you're having a panic attack and your flight or fight is telling you to run away.
Casey, that might be the first time you've done something nice for a stranger.
Oh my
I did. I started pushing him through the...
And then you guys were birthed together out of this big tunnel.
And then he was like, hey, can I have $1? And I was like, get away from me.
Yeah, I bet. I
man.
bet. Well, and tell us a little bit about that, because there's I guess... When you're trying to create like a frightening attraction like that, you've got to think of like people have all these different phobias, I guess.
Yes.
So you've got to get really into like the science of fear and like like you said, you're afraid of like claustrophobic things. That personally doesn't bother me. I think it's fun to go through those things. But then there's other stuff which like scares me real bad. You guys, I'm not going to say what it is, but you guys in particular have an illusion that I've seen several years at Frightworks where it let's just say that something looks like what it's not. Mm-hmm. And when I came around the corner the first year I saw that, I was just like, I was terrified. And then you have to kind of like walk next to it, and oh man, it was exhilarating.
It is. And the crazy thing about that is, and I don't know if you went last year, that illusion has always been a behind the scenes driven by someone behind the scenes. And starting last year, we actually put an actor at the forefront of that to play on that fear. And we have just gotten actually our owner Rob one day was like, I'm going to do this, and he stepped out there, and I was like, you make the greatest crazy person I've ever met.
It's incredible
because there's no acting involved in that for him.
It's incredible.
But now that we actually have an actor performed there every night, just because that takes that level of that fear that you are referring to, and I mean it escalates at big time. We have people that get on their hands and knees just to get through that area sometimes.
I almost I was like, I'm not going to be able to get through it. You guys will see what it is if you go through it. But it was like, and literally, like, I was with a girl, and she goes, she goes, look, it's a thing. And I was like, oh, and like there were adults looking at me like, are you okay right now? And I was like, we like what we like.
Hey, they actually got the fire marshal on that one.
Are you serious?
He came in to do our inspections our first year, I believe it was, and our owner was like, so we haven't gotten this completely finished. We know it's not up to code. And he was like, oh my God, no, you can't do this. And we were like, well, no, hang on, let us turn on the lights so you can actually see what it is. So it's a pretty convincing one now that I know what it is and I see it there. I don't see it. But I remember the first time I ever went through, that was actually the number one thing I remembered from my ever first walkthrough of Frightworks.
If this is what I think it is, I promise you, knowing how it's done is not going to make me not crap myself.
You're not going to know. I'm dragging you through this thing, and it's going to be magical.
No, there's an illusion that
you'll have to.
There's an illusion I've seen some haunted attractions do recently. The first time I saw it was in the haunted caverns over near Oak Ridge, Carnes area, and I don't know how they did it because that whole thing is down in the middle of the cave, like in a cave.
Yeah,
and they have this giant tube that spins.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the lights go the other way, so when you walk through it, you feel like you're going upside down.
Yeah,
it's great.
And I'm sitting there walking through it, just thinking in my head, this isn't even terrifying. This is just a dick move of like taking people's equilibriums and throwing it on the ground.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the ones that are done well, and you guys, Frightworks is definitely well done, but the ones that do a good job, they utilize a multiple, they'll use they utilize multiple means to like throw people kind of off kilter to keep people kind of like on their heels a little bit so that you don't ever get overly confident.
Yeah, this one it just seemed like all the scary people were standing at the other end with cameras filming every person that walked through it, just being like, look at that lady, she just fell.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about what it's like to come up with these scares and things like that, and like where do you take your cues from and stuff?
So pretty much what we do is we have a very large eclectic group of folks that are responsible for carpentry, set decoration, all those things. And we'll get together usually a little before Valentine's Day because we also do Valentine's, 4th of July, Christmas haunts occasionally.
Amazing.
We grab some volunteers. If we have enough of our crew that wants to come out and volunteer for a holiday haunt, we'll do them. We haven't done a Christmas haunt in the last 2 years just because all of our folks have been all so busy. But hopefully we'll have one again this year. It's great. We usually do a Krampus Christmas when we do it. So it's kind of like
we want to volunteer.
We will bring
volunteer for the Frightworks. We could be the behind the scenes. You could be Krampus.
Yeah,
you already are Krampus.
We got naughty elves. We got happy elves. We've got a black Mrs. Claus. All sorts of crazy stuff. Instead of your typical zombies, we've got people walking around with Macy's bags and ornaments crammed into their forehead. So we kind of take a comedic twist to it, but we still try to get those scares in there, but it's definitely, there's a lot more laughs during our holiday haunts with the scares. But yeah, so going back to your question, we just get together and we sit in a room, and we get in a room and we just chat and we start talking about stuff, and 9 times out of 10 it ends up with someone saying a joke like a Romanian Russian family.
The Donner Party,
and then we all just start to talk like this, and we talk about the meat and other things, and after 45 minutes of laughing, we go, wait a minute,
That's great.
We got it. That's it. That's what we got to do. And then we walk in and we look at the performers and we go, okay, so this is what we're doing this year. And they just look at you like, what?
That's great.
And then
amazing.
they get in there and like a Russian family, like that's probably one of our best in scenes that I've seen in a couple of years because they've taken the reins on it. It's so much fun. But that we get together, we discuss kind of our own fears. We talk about pop culture. And one thing that we strive for is staying away from pop culture. Chainsaws, for example. We've never wanted to do chainsaws just because
it's so popular.
It's everywhere. It is. And we pride ourselves on being able to not have to do what everyone else is doing. And then a couple years ago, our owner said we got a review that said, more chainsaws, more strobe lights.
Ugh.
And we were like, well, we don't have any chainsaws. So I cussed him for 2 years. And he was like, all right, we're going to try it this year. We're going to see how it goes. And so, we started adding some more strobe lights, some more chainsaws in areas, and people have really taken a liking to it. People really enjoy it, especially when you get to watch someone run an entire football field's length across the parking lot, even after the chainsaw maniac is no longer chasing them. So we did that. We actually talked about the artifacts that and you've seen in the videos.
The videos are great.
Yes, that's our Jameson guy. He films every single commercial that you've ever seen for Frightworks, every single YouTube video. We did a music video a couple years ago. We teamed up with a band. Like he does it all, and he's actually the one that acted in all.
I was
going to
ask, is he the actor? Because he was great and he was funny.
Fantastic. Yeah,
he is. Yeah. He's so committed that he came to Frightworks last year in a pumpkin suit, like less than 24 hours after the whole David Pumpkin skit. Oh. And I was just like, dude, what the hell are you? And he was like, I'm David Pumpkin. And I was like, dude, get out of my scene. You're so annoying. But no, I love him. He's absolutely amazing. So he kind of talks about the 5 artifacts that things like circle around. And I completely forgot what the hell I was talking about. So
it's okay. We can edit.
Yeah. Let's move. What are we talking about now?
Well, And I'll tell you what, like I actually a long time ago I got a chance as a young dude, I got a chance to work at a haunted house for just like a little bit for like a week, and it was nothing like what you guys do, but I will tell you this, it was just sort of like it was over in North Knoxville and they had it set up, and actually for like a privately run, just like somebody doing it in their house, like in the neighborhood, it was really really well put together, but nobody even went really in the house. They sort of just took them through the yard and like up on the porch and around and back out, and then they got some candy and like, but man, these people went all out, and they were friends with my parents. That's how I got to. They were like, well, he's old enough, Spencer could help out, I guess, and I was super into it.
Yeah.
And so everybody had to get there at like 3:00. They fed us pizza, and then they dressed us up in these different outfits, and we had you had like one of like 4 jobs. One of the people had to like lay in this coffin, and you just took these white clothes and buttoned them up, and it was under a black light, and just put this really generic looking like orange mask on. But again, and that's one of the reasons I was so stoked about that movie Hellfest, is like when you see almost anything under a black light, even if it's like a cheesy Walmart-looking mask, you kind of get this surreal, like when you see things under weird lights, you're going, wait a minute, what's going? And so you would just lay there, and whoever the guide was would bring them up near the coffin, and you had to count. You had to listen for a word, and he would count, and you would go 1, 2, 3, and he would jump up out of the coffin, scare the hell out of the people, and it worked over and over again. You would lay back down and wait for the next group to come up, or you would be in this room where a strobe light would come on, and you would be, again, sitting on a couch with 2 other fake figures that were like mannequins, but we all had masks on. They didn't know which one was real, and when the tour guide stepped back and turned the strobe light on, you had to run and jump out the window.
Oh, God.
At the people. And because of the strobe light, they just see you like, like in movies, you're way back, and then you're close, and then you're in their face.
Ugh.
And so... But it was literally just somebody's porch. They took the glass out of the window and like trash bagged the room up to where it looked like a cave, and you were just sitting on this couch. But it was so much fun to be part of the production.
Oh yeah.
And like, dude, I'll never forget. And then occasionally you would opt out and just be a guide. So everybody rotated. But that was that's like 1/10, not even a 10th. That's like a 50th of the type of production you guys do. So I can only imagine coming up with this stuff. Like it's got to be so fun.
So as being the casting manager, does that mean that your job is to find the Spencer McCoys that will jump out of windows? at people, or is it something like, are you casting crew as well? Like, what does that mean?
So typically, my day-to-day role in the haunt is I work with one of our owners, Rob. I do work with him. We sit down. We utilize an online haunt scheduler system that is utilized on haunts all across the country. And we go through all of our volunteers. They sign up all the days they're going to work, and we sit at the computer for, at least 3 hours a day.
Oh, man.
And we place people in their roles. And at first I thought it wasn't going to be that hard. I was like, oh, yeah, just drag and drop. But then you get looking and you're like, all right, I've got, one of our great performers we have this year, Emily Tackett, who's playing one of... I call her our key roles. She's responsible for delivering monologues, carrying the storyline, breaking up large groups when they get together, all these things you wouldn't think the haunted house actor does. And, I had to look at her last night and say, hey, we've got new folks. They need taught on how to do this scene with it, in a team setting. And this girl, she rocked this role last year in what she did. And it completely takes her out of this beautiful dress with a beautiful veil and all the tears. And she had to become a creature, a medieval creature, and run around this big long maze and teach these two new guys how to essentially be these characters. And so I've got to make those calls and move those performers around. And sometimes you would never think of it, but you got to be the bad guy. And sometimes you have to have that conversation with people and just say, hey, I'm not going to be able to put you in that role tonight because you're not as strong as a performer as, this person who is also signed up and was on property before you were today. So there's a lot of things that you really have to balance just when it comes to just filling the roles daily, because we don't make every person do the same thing every single night. In a perfect world, we would absolutely love to do that, but we are mostly volunteers. So, we got to keep our performers happy too. And after 2 nights of being under a strobe light, they want to move into an area that's not going to just be a constant flash where they're in a room by themselves all the time. So you got to balance like all those things out. And then on top of that, I've got to make sure they're getting their costumes, that they're getting their makeup, they're getting their dinner that we provide to them every night, and that they're in their places, ready to go when it's time to go, and they never are. I love them all, but they never are. It's like running around with a kindergarten class sometimes, but they're a great team, great. So,
oh my goodness,
that's amazing.
Actually, growing up in the neighborhood with all the neighborhood kids, we got together one year. I think I was just starting high school, so I don't know, I was still young enough to know better, but we destroyed my friend's house, turning it into a haunted attraction. And just having people walk through it on the Halloween night. It was the most fun I've ever had, but the cleanup was not great, especially after all the lights turned on and we're like, oh, this girl kicked the wall when she ran out. So once again, don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah, and speaking of that,
from experience.
Do you have any stories that you can share about people like maybe, and obviously it's a very safe attraction.
Have you guys made anyone throw up out of fear?
Actually,
oh man,
yes.
I was told I was demanded that I had to make that reference. We have a gentleman named Merc, and he's our sound tech. Actually, he designs all the sounds that you hear at our haunt. He creates all of them.
Wow.
He's going to hear this podcast and be like, those mics weren't hot enough.
That's what he tells me. It's not loud enough. It's not loud enough.
I like that. We need to talk about guitars.
He's got this one area, the haunted attraction, that whenever he works the haunt, that's his home. Like, if he calls and says, hey, I'm coming today, like, there's no performers that go in that area because it is all him. And it's very subtle what he does. He's a very quiet person. Even his scare is quiet. But I think he has been responsible in the last maybe 4 years for one fear vomit. I believe he may have been responsible for a defecation, and I know he has been responsible for many urinations. I don't know what it is.
That is my hero.
I know. He is amazing. He is absolutely amazing. I never thought you could fear someone to the fact that they would throw up, but
I'm so happy right now.
So use the bathroom and don't eat at least 2 hours before you go.
Let me ask you this.
My God.
When these things happen, because it's got to be somebody either super young or super old. It can't be like some college kid unless they're just super trashed.
You would be surprised.
Oh, I know. I'm sure. But whenever that person did fear vomit, did he have to stop mid-scare and be like, oh, my God, are you okay?
See, this is one thing that I really pride my guys on is we teach them to never, ever, ever break their character unless there is a serious emergency or medical condition. So I don't actually know how he reacted, but if he reacted the way he was trained, he probably gargled at him and just asked if he needed some mouthwash or something.
Oh, wow.
So I wasn't actually in the vicinity when that happened. I think it was actually in our filling a role that night. So we actually have one of our owners, Lynn. She is a registered nurse. So she comes to the beck and call. All we have to do is key in on the radio, and she runs faster than the scared girls to get where she needs to go. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, so it's
That's right, guys. Frightworks has a nurse on call just in case you get too scared.
We have a record. We have had an ambulance and fire truck called to the building for the last 3 years in a row. So yeah.
Wow.
It is on.
Good Lord.
You listen to me, right? It's on.
The amount of tension I feel at the
I can't wait to see this guy go through.
Dude, you're gonna
Christ.
but it's not just like one of these where can I handle it like it. I mean, if you scare easily, it will scare the piss out of you. But
I mean,
it's fun. It's
Hunter
fun.
should be fine unless they throw sugar in his face.
That was that's Dustin,
that was a meta joke, and I'm proud.
Dustin, what you don't know is Hunter's a diabetic.
Yeah,
What Casey just did was extremely shitty. That was
totally
horrible.
fine.
That's right. You know what?
Like when they do the grapes, the peeled grapes as eyeballs. If you force him to drink a Coca-Cola, that's not going to end well.
I can't believe you're still going with this. You're still picking on Hunter.
No,
you know what?
it's fine.
I hope something crawls right up your ass when we go to Frightworks.
I don't know. Just things do that at Frightworks?
He's not allowed to say, but they
know.
might.
He
They
cannot
might.
confirm
Don't
or
kink
deny.
shame. How about
The
that?
only thing I want to remind you is remember that we don't do stuff in there all the time, so there's no telling what's lurking in the shadows when we're not there.
Okay.
That's right.
Ooh.
See, what I really want to do is have a time where we all are planning on going to Frightworks and enjoying the attraction. But then
Now to me is like every day the rest of this month. I'm just
and then I want to cancel at the last minute so you two go anyways, and then meet up with this guy and have him dress me up so I can scare the shit out of you.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Yeah,
That would be great.
Now, if you cancel, they're
going
going to know, though. So
yeah, we'll know what's up.
No,
We'll
I mean,
do it next year.
I'll do it next year.
All right.
Well, and man, I'll tell you another thing.
I'll just tell them there's a time I can't go, and you guys should totally go without me.
I tell you what. Give me a clue that you guys are coming. I'll dress up like the Marshmallow Man, and I'll just hold a bag of sugar.
Yes, yes.
It really is the scariest place you've ever been. Hunter.
That'll
do
break
it.
me.
You would
It'd
you would definitely make him fear defecate himself.
Well, dude, and I'll say this too. What's cool about Frightworks, man, is like, and it is super popular, man. So like a line, there's a little bit of a line outside, but sometimes standing in line is almost as fun as going through the thing because you have characters out in the parking lot. Like interacting with the people in line, like getting a selfie, maybe sneaking up on you and scaring the piss out of you in line.
Do you have the people walking around in the parking lots?
We do.
Do you have the one person that takes a shovel and smacks it on the pavement just for the cheap scare?
We do. That's actually, if you're asking of the guy, that guy has worked at Frightworks for forever and a day, and he's taken some time back the last season or two. So I'm hoping to see him around this year. He's a great guy, and I mean all he does is put some monster slime in his hair, pull it down, and run through the parking lot with a shovel, some scrapers, and he terrifies people. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's the one we went to last year. The only time I was like tense and just like is watching that person walk around with a shovel. I'm like, wait for it. I even saw him do it, and I was like, oh damn it.
Casey doesn't like noises. Casey's really, really serious about noise. He doesn't even like our friend Brandon to play his drums. We
I don't like drums.
Here.
Drums are too loud.
Yeah, you wait till the shovel gets after you, buddy. It's going to be great.
You should walk through the haunt with me when I'm trying to do stuff, and we've got all these sounds are set up on motion sensors, and so I'll just be walking, and all of a sudden there's a loud noise, and I'm just like shit every time, and it's like I know they're there, air blasters, everything. I know they're there, and they scare the shit out of me every time I walk past them.
It's so good.
What's funny?
My God.
It's so good. I can't tell you how good. It's got all these different dimensions, man. Like some of it's like weird. Like you said, you guys are kind of split into, but there's not just one thing the whole time. Some of it's very like there's a lot of lasers and like it's real high tech looking, and some of it's like you're in like a crazy hospital or something. I mean, it's got levels, dude.
We actually had one going back to when we did our own as kids. My buddy Josh, who listens to this podcast, shout out to Josh.
What up, Josh?
What's up, man?
He actually had the idea, which he got from other haunted attractions, I'm sure, with motion sensors, like the ones you plug into floodlights and things like that. And he plugged it into a wall and then plugged a cake batter, like a hand beater, and plugged that and then stuck that into a shelf, took all the dishes out, put it in the shelf. So when people walked by, this egg beater basically went nuts in this wooden shelf, and it sounded like something was about to jump out of the cabinet.
That's
great.
really smart.
That's a good one.
So we did little, we actually, he put, because he was the one that definitely funded it out of his own pocket. He at the time was just like, this is going to be awesome. He even did strobe lights, fog machine. He got a chainsaw, like an electric chainsaw, took the chain off of it. He wasn't. Yeah, there's another part where he had somebody with a leaf blower underneath some tarp, and anytime people walk by, you just hit them in the feet with a leaf blower.
Yeah, it's crazy what you can do.
It's so insane how you can take basically yard work tools and turn them into, scary.
Well,
people think snakes are grabbing them by the feet.
Here's what I think, and you were talking about like not wanting to be just like everybody else with, like, and I get what you mean about the chainsaws and like the strobe lights and all that kind of stuff. But there's something there's a point where they become like classic. Like a lot of times I think if you're in a haunted house and you hear a chainsaw going off somewhere else and you're not there yet, but you hear like, and people are screaming, you go, oh, what the hell was that? Are we headed that way? When's that going to get after me? What's going on over there? And the strobe lights are good because like I was talking about earlier, you kind of see something, but then it's right up on you before you can't track its movement in the strobe light, so it's nuts. And those are just classic scares, I think. But I think we've got like 50 years of like horror movies teaching us to be afraid of like power tools and things like that. And just certain things that are kind of like, I think they're embedded into our psyche. But that'd be a good question. Maybe something we could talk about. Like, what is the science about? Why is it so fun to get scared? And it is.
It's even more fun to scare people, though.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Well, see, that's I'm fine with that, but not fine with going through the thing, which makes me feel like the worst hypocrite ever. But
you're like, I'm totally down with scaring people. We actually have a video we'll show you before you leave of me and this guy hiding in this little corner. It was
maybe
outside.
Our first ever Instagram video, maybe.
And
I think it was.
He comes out of the bathroom and he thinks we're in here, and he's like singing singing to himself down the hallway. And Spencer just jumps out and goes, "Mah!" And he comes up off the floor.
And punched the air moving forward.
You kind of kept singing too. You sort of, oh yeah,
oh yeah. You went total Scott Stapp with it.
Pure. But yeah, and it is. It's fun.
About that.
It's fun to scare people, but it's fun to get scared. You know what I mean? Like what is your experience with that? What do you think? Like, you watch a ton of scary movies. You're into
not even
creepy stuff.
Not even scary movies. This started when I was a child.
Yeah.
Which before I tell these stories, back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was considered something like funny and very family. I don't know. It's like my uncles, my dad, on all the sides of the family, their goal was to scare all the kids. Like, that's, if they scared all the kids and made one of us cry, they were like, yes, got him.
Are you talking about on Halloween specifically, or just year round?
Just year round.
You're just
like, if they found the time to, if like, all the kids were downstairs and they're like, my dad and all the uncles would get together and be like, this is how we're going to the moms are away, we're going to terrify these these kids, and it'll be funny. But my dad used to wear a gorilla mask and hide in the house somewhere when me and my brother would go downstairs. Like, me and my brother would be watching TV, be like, yay, Rugrats. And then afterwards, we'd come upstairs and be like, Dad? And then, nothing. He would just hide and wait. Just wait and wait. And then you'd come down the hallway and he'd come out of the room and grab you. And so, me as a kid, you'd sit there and look down a dark hallway and you'd see your brother go down the hallway, and all of a sudden your dad come out with a gorilla mask and grab your brother and pull him into the bedroom. And you're like, nope, not going down that route. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and there's got to be like a scientific reasoning behind all this. Like your endorphins start like piling up, and you get that anxiety. Now all of a sudden you're really anxious and excited, and then something happens, your heart rate spikes or whatever. There's got to be like kind of a physiological reason that getting scared. I think that's probably why and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're really into like jump scares.
I love jump scares. I just like,
because that's kind of your
horror.
Any scare is fine.
I like anything scary. I think jump scares are fun, especially when they get me really good. Like, there's a lot like Paranormal Activity 2 in the movie. I had to stop the
furniture?
movie. No, when all the cabinets open up on that girl.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's in the kitchen, it's broad daylight, and every single cabinet goes, boom, and all this stuff comes out. I had to literally stop the movie and catch my breath for a second because I didn't see that
That's
coming.
funny.
Oh, wow.
Because back in the day, that kind of stuff in a horror movie didn't happen in the afternoons, like
Yeah,
with sunlight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it caught me off guard, and it literally shook me to the core where I had to pause it and be like, well played.
Well, I mean, that's-
well played. The rest of the movie's terrible, but well played on that.
You've got to go see Hellfest. It's got some of the best jump scares I've ever seen, ever, in any movie.
And I'll end up go seeing it by myself, I'm sure.
And,
I'll
dude, I'll go see it with
Wednesday
you.
at
I'll
11
go see it
o'clock.
with you.
I'll totally go see it with you. I'll go see it 10 more times because it's
Okay.
got so many cool things. It's got great jump scares. It's got serious kills. I mean, gruesome. Like, they're rad.
So not PG-13,
Dude,
just to reiterate.
it's metal. Like, it's so good. The kills in it are so good. And then also, like I said, so much of it takes place inside this haunted attraction. So, and there was something cool about that to me. Like, I the fact that they were in like a big haunted house, I didn't question anything. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think like this is supposed to be a scary house or something, or a scary situation, and I'm just not scared by it. I see a lot of horror movies where I go, this isn't doing anything for me. I'm not scared of that. But in this, you're not necessarily supposed to be. It's supposed to be a manufactured, like a theatrical thing. So so it's almost more fascinating because you see the statues or the mannequins. Or
Well, that's the most attractive thing about it to begin with Frightworks in real life
you
and
get
the
to see
concept
all
of the film.
They create these environments for you to go in.
The
and you're just like-
theatricality of it.
It's
I think
incredible.
that should be celebrated. I think people
Yeah.
got so used to like finding it hokey, and it is hokey, but the atmosphere and like what you said about the strobe lights, it doesn't matter what you're looking at. Once your normal world goes slightly off kilter, and that's
Sure.
all that does to you, it makes you uneasy. So if you're signing up to be entertained in a way that equals being frightened, I don't know why people poo-poo the whole like let's go into a red room with a lot of deep shadows all of a sudden.
It's my favorite thing, and I think if you're alive in 2018, you've known Halloween is badass for a long time, and so. Personally, for me, like those classic things become like just like I said, like a room full of people with masks, and some of them are real and some of them are not. And you got to walk right through them, and you just know something's going to happen. It doesn't look like a $20 million set like The Conjuring, but to me, it's more exciting because you're in the process.
Yeah.
You're part of the thing that's actually happening. You're not just waiting to see if something might look scary or not look scary. You're part of the scare, and you have to find your way through this stuff. There's like an activity to it. I think it's rad. So like,
Now,
and
we'll
again,
say-
if you're here in Knoxville, Frightworks, in my opinion, is the best place to see all that stuff unfold.
And I have to say, I don't think I've done Frightworks. Maybe I did it back in when they first started it back in the 90s. I know I did one. I could have sworn it was Frightworks, but it was in the Oak Ridge Mall.
That was it, yes.
And they took an abandoned Belk and turned it into a 3-tier attraction, and that was
my Lord,
rad.
yes.
The was it the Trimble Hotel? Hotel
Yes,
theme?
because at the very end they go to take you back to the main floor, and then they I don't know how, but they simulated a
Guess
dropping.
you didn't go back to the main floor.
They simulated a dropping elevator, and they dropped you down to the basement. And so they sped up the elevator to where it dropped faster, but then at the very end would slow down, and it opens up, and then you're in a basement, and like the tour guide's like, of course acting, but he's like, we're not supposed to be here. No one leave the elevator, and then we have to. There's no other way. And he takes us through this catacomb. We end up in like this area where a bunch of vampires come out of coffins and chase us, and it was amazing.
There you go.
It was so rad.
There you go. That's why it's so rad, man, because they really work it out like that, man. They put a lot of work into
And I
this.
don't want to be mean to other haunted attractions, but since going through the Frightwork, going through other attractions, it's so easy to tell what's human and what's not. Like Frightworks, I couldn't. But through other attractions, like I'll be walking through and I'll be like, all right, that's fake, but that's a real person.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the way it's like stuffed. And then also putting in myself in the mindset, which I'm sure saying this to you is just a challenge, and you're going to be like, yeah, come over to Frightworks. We'll take care of that. But every time I go through one of these haunted attractions now, I have this mindset of they can't touch me. So in exactly.
Oh no.
They can't touch me, and if they do touch me, they can't do it in a way that would be a liability. And so I just go through the whole thing, and jump scares get me, but it doesn't get me in a way of like actual terror. It's like,
Well, you're supposed to make it out alive. I mean, it's not. It's
well,
not,
I know that, but it's like I don't know.
Spoiler: you don't actually die in Frightworks.
So Casey's just
Like when
become-
someone runs at me with a chainsaw,
they
I
do have
usually
a
just
nurse.
stand there, and they end up just going by me. They're like, "All right,
Yeah.
not that guy, next person. This guy's clearly
That's
not
good
affected
training,
by
though.
it."
Is that something you train people to do? The people that stop and don't run, like you just
If you see their legs going at like a normal walking pace or standing still, usually you'll get passed right up. If they notice that your feet are moving fast or your steps are small, they know, because they know even with me sometimes, like some days I'm totally fine next to a chainsaw, and I think it's just who the actor is. And then sometimes when they get next to me, I get a little uncomfortable and I'll start to pick my feet up. And then as soon as I start to pick my feet up, they know, oh, we know he doesn't want chainsaws today, so we're going to give him chainsaws. So I think that's just
brilliant.
that's something they really look into, is your body language and the posture of and how you're moving your feet.
God, you
'cause I
guys
know
are going
the
to
one-
have to
Dude,
move
there's-
me like a
it's
mannequin.
so
I'm just
well
going to be
thought out.
frozen. And
Trust me, it's easy.
so well
peeing
thought
myself.
out.
For you, it'll be easy. It's just picking up and
We'll
put
tie
you in
them to a
put
dolly
you in a good gust of
and then
wind.
just roll them.
I weigh 25 pounds for the listeners
Well,
that have
and
never
I want to
seen
say,
this.
I want you touched on.
Someone just put an industrial fan and I'll toss them into it.
We've got one.
Just don't put it in reverse as long as you don't get sucked into it.
Yeah. Dude, you said something that I think is important. It's like the theatrical aspect of it and the fact that you're actually a cast manager. So you have a cast and you've got a show. It's like a production. There's stuff, people are in character and they're really, really working hard for it. And like, so, and that's one of the things. If I see somebody going through like one of the haunted houses and like, you know, you've got like the girl that's scared and she's having a good time, and you've got like the stupid boyfriend who's being like too cool to be there, and he's like, he's being a smart ass. So I just go, dude, just get into it, man. Like, obviously you're not scared of the sound of the chainsaw, whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, don't be, don't be badass. Just smile and like get into the whole thing. Like, the theatrical aspect of it is super cool. And I know you can't control who comes in and out, and like some of the people are great guests and some of the people are probably a little challenging. And
Also, like playing with the cast members. Like when someone comes up to me and I caught them before they got the scare, I'm like, "No, nice try," and they're like, "Next time."
Or I like
great.
I like
That's
to
great.
joke with them, like when somebody pops out and it's like they've got like a big hole in their head or an eye missing, and I go, "Oh my god, that looks like that really hurt. Do you need an Advil?" Or like, and I just go through. But I'm never a jerk about it or anything like that.
And
I
I
try to
think-
respect,
Even back to the Oak Ridge Frightworks was a time where you have to go through a part where hands are coming out, and someone touched my friend, and she was like, "Don't touch me. I don't need your gross hands on me." Like, she's freaking out, and the person was like, "I use hand sanitizer."
I don't-
And like went back into the wall. Like,
Wow.
I don't remember what the attraction was.
That's the
and
best response. That's
I'm
so
probably going to
good.
get all the details wrong. We can ask Adam when we have my brother Adam when we have him back on. But there was one
not gonna
attraction
happen.
he went to, and I think it was one of the people that were like trying to pretend they were trapped in a cage or something like that, and freaking out. And either maybe the prop door broke, or like Adam or one of the people just like wiggled it and it opened. But whatever was going on, this person goes from immediate panic to the scare is no longer working because I'm totally free. So they like stopped and looked at the group and said thank you and just kind of walked off into the into the background.
I've got two funny stories from where that situation has happened to me at Frightworks.
Ooh, please tell.
So one was probably 4 or 5 years ago when we had the Hellevator, which was an elevator simulation, because our whole building is only one level, but we like to
That'll be good to
give that
know.
illusion. So you get in the elevator, and then obviously the doors close on both outside and inside. And the doors closed, and the ride started, and it's a series of airbags on a track, and like just all this crazy stuff that I can't even explain. And the ride finishes, and for the whole like last 30 seconds of the ride, I'm literally running around all four corners. I'm slamming myself up against the walls. I'm screaming, going absolutely crazy with these people in the elevator, and then it stops, and the doors don't open. And so I hit the reset button, and it's not working. And so I hit like the go button, thinking maybe it'll just restart, and it doesn't. I hit the e-stop, nothing. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to grab the doors and I'm going to pull them open. Like, it's not going to be, it's just pulleys and string. No, it was compressed air. And I could not get that door open, and I could hear like the line starting to build up outside of other groups waiting for the elevator, because this is the middle point of the haunt. Like, this is what
God.
really separated people. So I realized I have my phone in my pocket. So I
I just picture an insane person being like, "Rah!"
well, keep in mind,
Messing
like,
the door and be like, "Hold on, let me call my manager."
I'm dressed in like this butler outfit, and I'm just talking like this the whole time, and then I'm like, oh guys, the doors. Oh, the door. Oh, oh, guys, they won't open. The doors they're not going to open, guys. Guys, we're going to be stuck in here forever. I'm going to have to eat your feet. Like, wait a minute. I have a phone. I know how to use this. So, like, I call my manager, and he answers, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, it's Happy in the elevator. The elevator's stuck. I need you to call the maintenance man. And he's like, what? And I was like, it's Happy. I'm in the elevator, and I'm stuck with people. And he was like, oh, okay. All right, yeah, we're on the way. So then we close the door, and I'm just like, okay, all right. And then I'm just like rocking on my toes, and I'm looking at him, and I'm smiling at him. And this woman goes, is this thing broken? And I went, no. I just like to spend time with you. And it was just so funny because it was just one of those things where, like, even when I was calling for help, they had no clue what was going on. And that's one of the things that I strive to teach all of these performers is that you don't ever break your character unless the building's on fire or someone's having a medical emergency. Even if we have guests that decide they're too scared for it and they want out, we stay in that character. We will become a little nicer in that character if it's someone that wants to leave. But we hold that character all the way through. You know, we've had people talk about bring up Butch Jones in the past to one of our butchers. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not a big football fan, so I don't know where Butch Jones stands in the eyes of Vol fans right now. But
not high.
Well, okay, then good. Because we taught him to make the reference of, if someone ever makes a Vol reference to you and they're angry, or we've just lost the game or something, make the joke about, oh, I'm so mad, I got Butch Jones here on the table and like this is his body, or things like that. That way we are pulling that realism in. And then they're not scared, obviously, because they're asking us, about the football game. But now we've made them laugh. So they've gotten scared and they've laughed. So they've got double what they've come for their money in doing that. And then the other story is I used to... Fun fact, confessional. I'm actually the resident drag queen at Frightworks Haunted House. It was really funny how it came about. We had a man... playing a woman, and he had to leave mid-season, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it, sure, this will be fun. And as little and petite as I am, when I put on a wig and they slapped on some lipstick, people thought I was a real woman, and it just kind of stuck. I just kind of became this gaudy fortune teller woman, and I was just like, we're gonna have a blast with this, and I did it for almost 5 years.
You ever do like a Buffalo Bill styled kind of drag thing to scare people?
No.
Just put on lipstick in front of them.
No.
Really badly.
That just creeps me out. We do make references to Buffalo Bill between our haunted house and Escape Works, the sister attraction that we own. There's a small reference to Buffalo Bill there.
Wait a minute.
We'll get to that near the end.
You guys have haunted escape rooms?
Check it out, bro. When it's not Frightworks, it's Escape Works.
I did not know that.
Suck it.
Because, see, I always thought that would be the coolest thing ever is to do an escape room, but the entire time there's people, like, coming in and out of the room. Like, the lights go out and, like, some person comes in and scares the shit out of you and then leaves.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about, once we get more towards the end, because we've actually got Escape Works and Frightworks are technically two separate entities.
Okay.
Just our owner, Rob, one of our owners, he also owns Escape Works, which is located on Callahan. At the old Frightworks location before they moved.
Oh, so it's not the same building. Okay.
No, and so now he's got 3 games running over there, and I can touch base on those here in a little while, and we can talk about those a little bit, because we do some cool stuff there that the other escape games here in Knoxville don't currently offer.
Well, I think that would be like that might be like another, if you're willing to maybe come back, do like a follow-up episode after Halloween, and get into like Escape Works.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe
I'll
like
talk
later.
to Rob about that, and if he's game, I'll totally come back.
Just do another one and
so
be
much
like,
fun. Yeah.
Hey, you guys remember Dustin from Frightworks? Well, guess what? Escape Works.
He's back.
Yeah, suck it.
Yeah.
The resurrection.
That's right.
Yeah,
Now that you escaped Halloween, escape this shit. I don't know. We'll think of a slogan.
They'll have a better one.
It'll be way better than that one.
That's the scary thing.
Go on with that.
Okay, yes. So Gertrude. So I'm in this room, and I would read people's palms, and Gertrude loved to make innuendos. So I would feel for the woman's hand, and I'd feel for how big the rock was on the back. And oh, you've not been pleasured in a long evening, so the spirits tell me. And she'd crack up laughing at her husband, or you'd get that probably 16, 17-year-old kind of looking gentleman. He's obviously in there with his mom and dad. I'd throw his hand back at him, and I'd say, "Oh God, just disgusting! You do that with your hand." And the parents would just the parents would roll laughing. And then, I flip a magic switch and the room begins to become possessed. We have a blacklight element that kicks on, and it would reveal that I'm wearing contacts that glow in the dark, and I have a skull on my face, and I become possessed, and the dresser drawers start opening and closing. This one night, I just wasn't feeling it. I was just I had the shakes, and I'm doing my thing, and the dresser drawer behind me breaks. And when I flip the switch to the off position so the room goes back to normal, it doesn't stop. It just keeps, the dresser drawers just keep opening and closing. So I just turn around and I just start screaming at it. And the next thing I know, these people are walking in the room and I'm like, Reginald, just shut up, Reginald. And these people are like, what are you? And I was like, my husband, he's been dead for 10 years. He's possessed the dresser and he just won't leave me alone. He won't stop talking. He's always bothering me. And these people were just like, what the hell is wrong with this woman? And then 10 minutes later, I don't know what happened. I was having a good night. Like I said, I was feeling a little off, and I just started shaking. I could just feel the shakes coming on, and I method act way too much when I'm in a haunt, and I am constantly getting possessed. Every 30 seconds, I'm being possessed, and it just got to the point where emotionally, I just snapped. And I started hyperventilating. I began to cry. My hands had locked up on me. My eyes were pretty much swollen shut. My mouth was like this, and I'm breathing really hard. And
everybody's like, "What character is this?"
The girl that's playing opposite of me, which is my roommate, she comes through the secret door to do the scare, and realizes that something is wrong. So she just turns around. She's like, "Screw the guest." She turns around and she just runs to the front to go get the owners. And I know these groups are coming through, and I'm crying, and I'm screaming, and these people are like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Yep. This is great. And I'm so just real. In my head, I'm just going, screw all of you.
You're having an actual meltdown. Everybody's like, man, they're really into it tonight.
That was something that I've wondered about. And then, again, with this movie you're plugging, one of the things that they point out in the preview is blurring reality with the scares. How do you guys... I guess not deal with so much, but prepare for that eventuality. Like you said, she went and just got them, which is good. But
yeah, she knew. The good thing that we have about all of our volunteers, obviously, whenever you get a large group of people together, obviously not everyone's going to like everyone. One of the really amazing things I can say about all of the volunteers that we have at Frightworks is even if they don't necessarily want to be friends with other people, they get along with them and they take care of each other, and they know how their neighbor's scene works. They know the noises that should be coming from the scene before them, and if those noises aren't coming across, they're usually going to peek their head in and go, hey, what's going on? 9 times out of 10 it's because they're a nosy neighbor and they're like, hey, what you doing wrong over here? But they all know how the scares work. They all know how their fellow teammates act, on scene or behind scene. And people, I can say in the years that I've been there, have done a really amazing job of being able to pick up if someone's struggling or, someone's having an issue with something, which I can, knock on wood and be very fortunate that we've not, I think other than my episode, and one other of our girls having a small episode that personal medical condition that had her go to the hospital. We've not really had anything serious actor-wise. And then when the guests get injured, if a guest... we take as many steps as possible to ensure that we are, OSHA certified. We meet all of our fire codes, and we do. And we try to dummy everything. And I work at a large local tourist attraction is what I will call it. And one of the things I've learned is you can't dummy-proof everything. And unfortunately, we do have some guests that come through sometimes, and they get overly excited, and then they start running, and they run, right into a pallet or a wall. Oh, and those actors have always done an amazing job of immediately drop their character. One's always with the guest. Someone immediately goes. And one of the things that they do is if there's not a neck or back injury suspected, is we immediately move that guest out of the line of sight of other guests. That way it doesn't create a bottleneck when more people are coming. And if the actors know that means that they're going to have to miss a scene, they'll do that because they want to make sure that guest is taken care of. And fortunately, I can say, we only have, maybe 2 or 3 bumps or bruises a season. As I was telling you earlier, we had the ambulance fire every year. One of those was for me 3 years ago when that happened. And then the others have just been times when like people trip and fall in the parking lot or do things like that.
Sure.
That's fantastic,
but
though.
yeah.
They'll come and slap a shovel at you, but they'll make sure you get home safe.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a good night.
Oh, man.
Well, I think it's magical, dude, and I cannot enough thank you for being here, and I encourage everybody to go. And like, where's a good place for them? I'm assuming a website, but also maybe like on Facebook or something for them to kind of go and check out the schedule. And
Check out the YouTube for sure.
Check out our YouTube. It has all the videos. One thing I forgot to mention in the beginning that kind of ties into those videos to make sense is we do have the 5 themes that overlap, the 5 zones. But the overall theme this year is the Hex Family Collection, which is collected by brother and sister duo Oleander and Belladonna Hex. They've traveled the world, and they've collected items that Ed and Lorraine Warren wouldn't touch with a 10-foot silver pole bathed in holy water.
Oh, that's great.
Love it.
So those videos that you were going to see explain some of the 5 artifacts that represent the 5 zones we have throughout the haunted attraction, as well as we debuted a brand new commercial this year, which is essentially it's a poem that one of our owners wrote, and it's so freaking cool. I absolutely love it. So yeah, definitely check out the YouTube. We've got videos and archived all the way back to probably 2008 in there.
Yep.
The Facebook page is a great way to get a hold of us. You can message us on Facebook. If you do, please send me some love. I do work a full-time job, like 45 hours a week on top of Frightworks, so I will respond as soon as I can, as well as frightworks.com. And just so everyone knows, if you've never worked in a haunted house, you want to work in a haunted house, we are always looking for more people to come scare. So please check us out on frightworks.com, on the Facebook page. Yeah,
Us three would love to do it.
We would love to have more volunteers come down. We always say we would love to be overstaffed than understaffed any day.
Absolutely.
Because that just means, hey, that's more people we can put in the parking lot.
And maybe we'll see you guys there. I'd love to get behind this. I'd love to reprise my role as a haunted house actor from a million freaking years ago.
Dude.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. Let me. I wanted to ask something. And
Yeah.
This is a question that like people that are in the business of manufacturing scares, like Stephen King, and they get asked this all the time. So this is not by any means an original question or anything.
Okay,
but
here
I
we
would
go.
say, after being so behind the scenes and seeing like being the guy that jumps out and this, what scares you now? Is there anything you're afraid of these days?
That's a good question. Because doing this all the time, doing it all the time has definitely, I don't want to say it has ruined haunted houses for me.
Sure.
But when I go through a haunted house, I'm going to use Dead Man's Farm as a reference. One
Okay.
of our other local haunted attractions. I go through their haunt, and I love going through there. Just getting to see all the special effects and stuff they do. That's just who I am now. When I go through a haunt, that's what I'm looking at. But Jesus Christ, when someone just comes out of nowhere, like I'm in a room and I don't see him, and the next thing I know, that pallet door swings open and he's 2 inches in front of my face, I say every cuss word in the book I can to him. And I usually am like, good job, because haunted houses, they just don't scare me anymore. But, when I go to Dead Man's, they're good at the jump scares. They scared the crap out of me without, it's crazy, and I love it. So definitely anytime, loud noise and in my face, something that startles me. That's what scares me.
That's kind of like Casey.
Maybe that's why I don't like loud noises, because I've just been so
you associate it with the scare.
Yeah.
And I'll say that too. That's kind of like we play music, and music's kind of the same thing. Like from one side of it, it looks like this magical process, and you're just like, whoa. And then when you start kind of learning it, it doesn't have the same appeal because you know how to do it. But I think it gains a new appeal. Like now, the process is what's fascinating to you.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can appreciate the guy that built that set and designed that costume, and this guy's doing a great job in character. And I think there's another side of it that can still be just as exciting. So
yeah.
So
Nice.
what you got is total pros.
Absolutely.
Tailored experience to you and your group and whatever's going on, and done at the highest possible level it can be done. You've got it right here in Knoxville, folks. You've got to go check this out, man.
Everyone has got to go to Frightworks.
Yeah, man, it's so cool. And again, you've got a whole month to do Halloween. You've got to carve pumpkins one night. If you're going to trick or treat one night, fine. But squeeze this in like next week or this week, or I mean, you know what I mean. Go really go check them out.
We should do a meetup at Frightworks. Have a bunch of people just
well,
go with us through the haunted house and watch
that's
us
what we
get
did with the
terrified.
ghost tour. We had the guy on, and then we went on a tour tour. Maybe we'll look at it after this and see if we can get our schedules to coalesce. But if that's the case, I'd love for us all to be there on one night and like maybe interview some people in the parking lot or dude. There's so many great opportunities for like pictures and videos and stuff. Like the characters just in line or like I love it. I love the guy with like the eyes in his hands. And, I mean, dude,
he's got the eyeballs,
and everybody wants.
I can see it hiding under the bed, and he puts his hand up, and he's like,
"Well, you should see his face.
Yeah.
His face is the best thing, and he's in line with you, and like he'll slip up on you and scare you, but then you totally want to get a picture with him, and like they're really really good. So guys, come out and check out Dustin. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate it very very much.
Real quick, just before I go, a couple things to remind everyone. Frightworks, the haunted attraction, is fully indoors, so we run rain or shine. We have a covered waiting area for guests, so if it is raining, you're going to be dry. You're still going to have those performers out there entertaining you. Air conditioned on the inside when it's hot, and the heaters will kick on outside if it ever gets cold outside.
Jesus, I know.
And then admission is $23. That includes the taxes, free parking.
Yes, and they have a huge parking lot. Parking's never a problem. Like I said, it's a cool little area of downtown Powell. It's right off Emory Road, and there's restaurants near there. There's a coffee shop right across from it. I mean, spend an afternoon out there and then get in line, do this thing.
Is it all week?
So our days and times are on Facebook, the website, as well as our Instagram.
Okay.
Go out and follow that Instagram. I'm always trying to think new pictures to take inside that thing. So our dates and times are all on there. And then we run through all the way to Halloween night, various different days. So we'll start opening on Sundays the closer that we get. We're closed the Monday before Halloween, but we're open the Tuesday and or whatever those days are. Just look at the calendar. It's all
absolutely.
And by my experience too, like the hours become more and more and more as you get closer to Halloween. Like they're open late on the weekends, and I mean you can totally make it. Don't be like I can't make it. You can make it. Go to Frightworks, get your ass scared off.
All right.
Well, I can't make it. I don't know.
No, you're gonna make it.
You're gonna make it.
Oh, you're gonna make it.
And we're gonna throw sugar at you all night long.
That's right. That's right. So
is it asbestos or Splenda? I can't tell.
That's stevia.
Oh, no, come on. I mean, there's one thing to be scared. There's another thing to talk about stevia.
That was already bad. You ruined it.
I hate
What's going on?
I think stevia sucks. Anyway, so all right. Well, guys, we're signing off. This is Halloween week 2 at the Beacon House podcast. You guys let us know if you've been to Frightworks and you had a good time, whatever. Post it, drop it in the comments. Really go see these guys, man. They're super cool to come out and talk to us. And guys, we will see you more in October.
Ooh.
Oh my.